Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called Illuminate Your True Self with Human Design. Discover the energetic map of how you were designed to love, live, and thrive. My name is Stephen Dyna. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm always delighted to be getting to explore new systems of self-understanding and really more cosmic understanding as well. We're going to get to explore human design, which has gotten a lot of traction in recent years in so many of my circles because it has a unique synthesis that we're going to learn about that really gives you a kind of a multiple perspectives on the deeper dynamics of ourself and how we express in the world. We're going to get to explore with two of the real pioneers of this work. They are the co-founders of Evolutionary Human Design, and Carola Eastwood and Chetan Parkyn are both taught together for like 20 years and are really experts in this system. So thank you so much, Carola and Chetan, for joining us.
Thank you, Stephen. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Great. Well, I'm excited to dive in, and I want to let everyone know right up front that we are going to have a brand new course on human design called Embodied Alignment with Human Design with Carola and Chetan that we'll hear more about towards the end of the hour. So let's start with a little bit of your journey. Since you two have been at this for 20 years, it must have been very early days of developing this whole process. So let's hear a little bit about your journey with human design and where that took you.
Well, my journey with human design actually started way before I was introduced to human design. When I had a spiritual awakening at a very, very young age. I was 19 years old. I had lost my first child, and I was in really, really deep despair. I mean, I wanted to die. I just had no support, no resources. I lived on a hilltop in Texas overlooking Eagle Mountain Lake. And I remember walking out at night in this deep despair, looking over the edge of the cliff and thinking, if I jump, would I actually die? I just felt like there's no reason to live. But I heard this song in the background playing in another apartment. It's George Harrison's song, My Sweet Lord. You know, I really want to see him. I really want to be in food. And something that like just touched my heart. So I stopped and I prayed. And I asked God, I said, God, if you're not really there, I need to see him. And I just felt calm afterwards. And I no longer felt like pitching myself off the cliff. And I went back inside, went to bed, woke up the next morning with this voice in my head. It said, get up and go look in the mirror. And so I got up, I'm sleepy, all looking at areas, and turned around to go back to bed. And the voice said, no, really look. So I turned around, looked into the mirror, and looked into my eyes. And I began to transform. I became my life body, it's, you know, I always, and we're at a loss for words to describe this. It was like this shimmering, radiating light that I became. I was seeing my soul essence, my spirit essence. And I felt this indescribable, immense love. And everywhere I looked, I just saw this light and this love. And I knew that I am God, we're all God, everything's God. And I just felt so inspired. And in that moment, I decided to dedicate my life to helping others to awaken. Of course, I had no idea how to do that. And long story short, many, many years later, human design came into my life. And that was the beginning for us of a journey that's now been how many years, 27, 28 years of teaching together, writing together, and bringing human design to the world in a way that helps others to begin to come back to their unique essence, who they really are, and bring their self into a full awakening. So that's a little bit about my experience with it.
Beautiful.
So mechanical engineer, and I used to go to all over the world troubleshooting engineering projects. I found myself in Kenya, in Africa, at the end of a safari, and literally I hit the wall. Nothing made sense to me anymore. I had all these amazing experiences, done everything that was supposed to be done, and nothing made sense. So I flew to India. This was 1979, and I found my way to Osho's ashram in Pune. At the time, he was called Rajneesh. There were thousands of people there from all over the world. And everyone would be asking questions, and he'd give these most extraordinary answers, guiding people more and more towards meditation. I was way too shy to ask anybody anything. I mean, to have myself exposed in front of everybody like that. But I found myself guided to have a reading with a man in Bombay, which is now Mumbai. And the man was a shadow reader, Chai Shastri. So his process was to measure the length of my shadow. I wasn't really paying attention to what he was doing. He had this funny stick with colored markings on it. But he measured my shadow, whether it's to my shoulder, to my top of my head, to my aura, I have no idea. But back into his office, asked for my birth information, date, time, and place of birth, did the astrology for that. Asked for my name, did the numerology from that. And he was satisfied. He had these 3 calculations that took him to one point. Behind his desk, he had this massive bookshelf stuffed with books. They all looked identical to me. But he rolled his chair along to a shelf, pulled out a book, brought it back to the table, opened it up to a page, and it was my page. And he starts off, 1,000 lifetimes ago this, 100 lifetimes ago that, 10 lifetimes ago the other, last week, this week, next week. He was telling me all about my lives. And everything he said, just ding, 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 it just kept hitting the note. My hair was standing on end. He closed the book up and said to me, I want you to come and work with me because you know how to do this work. I was in such a state of shock, I had no idea. And after a long pause and trying to work something out in my head, I said, no, I can't do that. He just cracked up laughing like I told him something really funny. So he could see in that moment there was a fork in the road for me. And he was leaving it to me to make the decision. There was no pressure to come and work with him at all. I mean, his was a father to son thing for thousands of years, but he married. Anyway, when he finished laughing, he said, it doesn't matter because you're going to do this work anyway, because you know how to do this work. And he said, there's a new system that's going to come into your life. You're going to write books about it. You're going to teach it all over the world. And it's going to change people's lives forever. So I was really in a state of shock. I had no idea what he was talking about. But as I left, he said, start practicing because you have the gift. You know how to read for people. Learn a system. Get ready for this new system. So within a week, I found out how to read hands. And that's what I did for the next years, reading anybody whose hands would be held out in front of me. And I explored every single esoteric system I could lay my hands on and practiced readings for the next 14 years. In 1997, the Human Design system was downloaded. 1987, Human Design came into the world. In 1993, an old friend of mine sent me a chart, my Human Design chart. I took one look at this chart and I knew this was the new system. And so introducing people to themselves through human design is truly my soul calling.
Remarkable backstory, yeah, and then being able to have such specific predictions of what you're going to be up to in this lifetime, that's amazing. So I would love for folks who are not as familiar with the foundations of human design, I know there's different streams that flow into it. Maybe said a little bit of the big picture context of what human design is and how it's providing a kind of a mapping of the different energies and orientations of your soul and personality.
Well, human design, I would say, was channeled in 1987. And it came through to somebody, a Canadian man. He was living in the island of Ibiza at the time. As a typical kind of cosmic jerk, he was not into spirituality. He had no training in esoterics at all. He was actually a newspaper advertising salesman. And his boast was he could sell more pages of advertising than there were pages in his newspaper. So he had this extraordinary experience, 8 days a night, continuous channeling of this system and other things, secrets of the universe, all kinds of stuff. Human design, it appears to be the first Aquarian system. It's unique because it delivers accurate conscious as well as unconscious inherited past life and karmic information.
Yeah.
It provides unique information for each individual on Earth, helping us reunite us with our core essence, our natural way of being without conditioning. I call it a self-remembering lives. It is a synthesis of multiple ancient wisdom traditions along with modern-day sciences. Human design is a self-empowerment tool. It contains several keys that, when practiced, eliminates conditioning, brings inner resonance, and transforms lives. Sure enough, what that shadow reader told me in 1979 came to pass. Our books are now in 15 language versions. We read for thousands of people all over the world and teach several levels of human design. So we watched and heard how our clients' and students' lives have transformed as a result of embodying their human design. And it gives us the means to move from knowledge to knowing, from a collective viewpoint to an individual one. Because after all, we did come here to be ourselves. We didn't come here to be anybody else. And so human design guides us into that place of knowing.
Carola, you want to build on that and talk a little bit about the foundations of the system?
Yes. It shows us our unique energy. It actually shows us how to live a spirit-inspired life on this free will planet. And it's meant for us to be able to experience the freedom of having a really deep and fulfilled life in every part of our life, from our relationships to our work, to our studies, to our creative pursuits. And human design is unique because it's a synthesis of 4 of the ancient wisdom traditions, right?
Yeah.
So it includes
Astrology,
the
Ching, the Carola, and the chakra system.
Right. Along with a couple of modern day sciences, which are the human genetic code and neutrino physics. So it's really a blend of ancient wisdom and modern science. And it's something that, we realize that we each come into this life with an inspiration for what our soul wants to experience. We see life on Earth as a continuum, that we live lifetime after lifetime after lifetime with the purpose of learning how to become conscious co-creators with spirit. But when we see it from that framework, then we understand that planet Earth is like a school for souls. And each lifetime gives us the opportunity to learn how to positively interact in this creation field, which is what we live in. It's a creation field. We learn what works and what doesn't work. Some people call it karma, or, you could just call it cause and effect. But what makes life on Earth now especially challenging is that we're so conditioned. So often the people guiding our life, well-meaning parents, guiding our lives, the culture we find ourselves in, the educational experiences we have, don't teach us anything about accessing our own truth. They teach us how to be some model of some idea of us, which only serves to warp us out of true alignment with our connection to our purpose and our natural way of being. So what human design calls this is conditioning. We get conditioned out of that natural essence of being that we came here to be, that every newborn baby knows. Mm. So one of the purposes of our 7-week course is to provide our students with a pathway to deconditioning, to release their habitual behaviors that keep us really unfulfilled and also keep us repeating the same mistakes over and over again. It's really to free ourselves to remember our own unique nature and begin to step more into the power of the unique being that we came here to be.
Well, it certainly aligns with the mission of Shift, and it's really inspiring with the two of what you've reflected on in terms of the system. Can you share a little bit more of the specifics of like how a chart is constructed and what you're seeing when you have different 9 energy centers, and a little bit about what the mapping is all about?
Yeah, by all means. So we start off with astrology, and we do a calculation for the moment of birth. And part of the information that came with human design was at the moment 88 degrees before the birth, 88 degrees of solar arc before the birth. So about 3 months before the birth, we do a second calculation for that moment. Multiple different ways of describing what that significance is all about, that moment in time. We could say it's when the spirit quickens the body, that the fetus has now a going concern for the soul that's coming into the body. But some mothers have this experience about 3 months before the birth. Sure enough, something amazing happens. They can feel it like a possession in some way. Or
quickening.
Yeah. So we start with astrology with those 2 calculations. Now, the calculation of birth is basically our conscious effort, what we get to live out, that we can recognize ourselves playing out in this lifetime. The unconscious calculation, which is the one 3 months before birth, ties us into our whole genetic inheritance, right? All the genes that come through our family line. Going back generations, we'd calculate at least 4 generations of input there. It's all unconscious. It's basically hidden from us. But it's all, in a sense, our karmic essence. It's all the agreements we've made with our ancestry. So there's a complete story in there, not just what we come to live out in this lifetime, but what's the background that we bring with us, all these gifts and talents or abilities or karmic ties that we have as well. So we start with astrology. We talk about the I Ching. So in astrology, we divide the sky into 12, what we call the signs of the zodiac. In human design, we divide the sky into 64. And the 64 relates to the hexagrams of the I Ching, and it also relates it to the human genetic codes, the 64 genetic codons that we have. And part of the knowledge that came with human design is portions of the star fields around us will relate directly to portions of the genetic codons within us. So we build up a map of where particular planets are in relation to us, in relation to the star fields around us, and what is the energy that they bring with them. And these get locked into our genetic codings. The 9 centers are kind of a parallel to the 7 chakras that we all know about or heard about. And these are energy vortices in the body. And apparently what happened in the year 1781, when the astronomer Herschel discovered the planet Uranus, we entered into what we call the scientific age. And at the same time, the human vehicle morphed from a 7-centered being to a 9-centered being. It doesn't mean to say the 7 chakras have vanished or anything like that, but it does signify that we're playing with different perspectives about life now. So that is how the 9 centers came about. The 4th of the wisdom traditions, the Kabbalah, references the tree of life, how our various energy centers link together. And so in human design, we have 36 channels that kind of mirror the effect of the Kabbalah and the tree of life.
Truly fascinating, all the influences that are flowing in. And so you say that it's kind of more from the 7 energy centers to 9, or are 7 of the 9 centers still kind of more or less corresponding with the 7 chakras, or does it start to kind of take on a different form?
We were just encouraged, don't make the parallel necessarily. The 7 chakras, they're doing fine, but have a look at these other 2 centers that have come in and get the perspective from there.
Yeah, I think it is kind of a refinement of both chakras, getting a little more specialized. And I think probably you'll see as Chetan takes you through the meditation he's going to do on the centers, you're going to go through each of the 9 centers. So there's definitely correlations to chakras.
And so what, when you get to see the map of the 9 centers and how they're working together, so each sounds like there's pathways connecting them, like there is with Kabbalah, and so each one is going to give you certain insights. Are you kind of just looking for, are there general kind of typologies that tend to fall together that are important?
Well, let's just say physiologically and psychologically, each of these 9 centers relates to something within us. So they are linked together in a very specific way. This was one of the things that Ra, who was given the system, was he was walked through it over and over again until he got the chart right. So the chart is very specific, and the linkages between the various symbols is very specific as well.
Fascinating. Do you want to, I know you were going to do a little bit of reflecting on my own chart as a way to demonstrate this with other folks. So would now be a good time to do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
It'd be fun. And then you can walk us through a meditation of the 9 centers if you like.
Perfect.
All right. So the first thing that occurred to me when I looked at your chart is you're the fastest person in the room wherever you go. You get stuff like that, and it's like, what's the holdup, everybody? What's going on here?
True.
The other thing that occurred to me was I wondered at what age you realized you were going to be living a very, very different life than anybody you ever met.
I would say probably 21 is when I sort of pivoted towards the spiritual path from the kind of more pre-med neurobiology kind of arena that I was on.
Yeah. So in your design, I would say you have an allergy, and the allergy is twofold: to stupidity and unfairness.
I could definitely say those do not land well.
And it's trying to be kind of pushed around the place, unless it is exactly aligning with something that's already part of your intention. It's not going to be happening.
That's definitely true.
The spiritual path was always on the cards for you. And my sense is, age 21, yes, you started realizing that more and more for yourself. But I would say you're born in this light theme, what we call penetration. You get sucked really, really quickly. And the particular placement of your sun is in this part of the sky that relates to a natural ability to engage in the unusual, I could say. That's specific pathways that other people have chosen never really going to quite resonate with you. That you'd be entering into something in a very normal way, your target set on something or other, and all of a sudden the lights would go out. And you'd suddenly get this realization that what you were looking at, what you've been moving towards, no longer was going to do it for you. That there was a completely alternative way of looking at the same thing. And so, in a sense, this would have been really a mystical realization that you were here to kind of, in a sense, challenge spirituality, challenge what is possible. And inevitably, your work with the Shift Network is expanding, what can I say, the spiritual possibilities for everybody on the planet. Just, what you've been given, what you've been spoon-fed may not be reality at all. I would love to say your path has been really easy, but it has not necessarily. I think your life has been full of hard knocks. But as long as you've maintained a sense of humor when things screw up, that, you'd have tremendous stories and great teachings, personal experiences that you can then relay to other people. You wouldn't believe what happened to me when I did this kind of thing. And just finding the humor in things that don't work out. But at the same time, being a very, very fast learner in terms as well. That one didn't work, but if I do anything like that again, we're going to do something completely different.
Well, I was to say, failing our way to success.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely. And fastest learning curve on the planet. Right? Things just don't work out. Oh, well, let's try something different. Natural leadership behind all of that. So in your design chart, your throat center is completely wide open in the sense that there's no particular voice that is set for you, that you can relate to anything. You can relate to anything the audience is seeking to hear, that you literally reflect back to people things they need to hear about themselves and their life.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with what we call self-centered design. This is the diamond in the middle of the chart. You have one gate in there, the 46, which is the gate of allowing the eyes to be drawn to you. It's also allowing yourself to be in the right place at the right time with the magical ingredient, the right attitude. If life places me here, there must be something here for me. In a sense of a set direction in life, it's a completely open book for you. And you'll have tried all kinds of different things. And life is just a cornucopia of possible expressions. And you mirror this back to other people and just say, hey, here's a possibility for you. And you'll have found in your life people that like you. What is happening is they're liking a reflection of themselves that they like about themselves. And people that have a problem with you are people that are getting a reflection of themselves that they don't particularly like about themselves. It has nothing to do with you, never has done and never will do. And somebody that imparts wealth to the world. And this is something that's really easy for you. In a sense, I see a whole Aquarian flavor about this. That we're coming out of the age of the begging bowl and, people serving God or serving something else just as a duty. And we're moving into the Aquarian age where the wave pattern says, as above, so below. And for offering gifts in this lifetime, it's really good to have wealth behind you, to have that sense of wellness and abundance. And you convey that as a wisdom into the lives of everybody around you.
Love it. Really, really, so insightful. Really great stuff. Carola, do you want to add anything from what you were perceiving of the chart as well?
Well, I would say that the wisdom that you bring through, it's called out of you from other people, and that's part of that nature of being a projector, is that you radiate it, and the people in your life then gravitate to you or somehow interact with you, and they call out that wisdom. And so according to whoever you're with or around, you'll bring out a particular viewpoint or a particular, thought that will be just perfectly right for that person, for that audience, or for that situation. And it's just a very natural ability of yours. You're meant to be a guide. That's what projectors are. It's only about 20% of the population are projectors. And of all people, most of us are energy types, generators, manifesting generators, manifestors out there doing, making it happen. And it's you projectors and reflectors, which we'll get into, who are the gentle guides who said, well, sometimes us energy types can't see the forest and trees. We're so busy doing and binging. What projectors can do is part the way and point the way. Say, if you just go in this direction, then let's get work done with you. So you're our guides, and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for that mirroring and reflection. That was really quite remarkable. Do you want to share a little bit about the other types too, so people can kind of get a sense for how the whole array of them work?
Well, we've all been trained to be manifestors, and only about 10% of the population are actually manifestors. And they're not beholden to anybody, really. They just have this knack or this ability or this desire to be able to do stuff. They're self-canalized. They just get the impulse from inside themselves, I'm on with it. And of course, they immediately run into trouble because everyone says, well, where do you think you're off to? And who said you could do that? And so they run into a lot of obstructions in life. And they have to be really particular about that in providing a little bit of need to know information to people. I'm just going to the supermarket. Do you want anything? Oh, you're just going to the supermarket? You're not going to turn our world upside down because you can. And so just a little need to know information, and all of a sudden the pathway becomes clear. Generators, about 30% odd of the population, and they impart life force energy into the world. That is their great gift. And the foundational law of the universe is life begets more life. And so generators are the ones that are always imparting this life, cross-pollinating, putting their energy into things where life expands. And they work really well in what we call a gut response, a sacral response, a response that comes out of the lower belly. Nothing mental about it at all. And once they get that gut response, it either says heads up, interested, or not now. Then we have people we call manifesting generators. They're kind of a hybrid between the generator and the manifester. They tend to love the manifesting part. Oh, come on, let me just get on with it. But we say really good to get that gut response first, and do your due diligence to find out, all right, I got an initial yes for this thing. Does it stay with me? If they just insist on charging into things, they very often get halfway through something and just want to drop it. And then there's all this kind of makeup that has to happen, and people see that, oh, you're really flaky, well, we get anything completed. So we give great guidance for manifesting generators. We love them. They're the great achievers in life. But, there's nothing about achieving disaster or achieving something that comes out really well and becomes really fulfilling. Projectors, Carola talked about a little bit. And then the fifth type is what we call reflective design. Very rare, maybe 1 in 100. And these are people that have no consistent thing in their design. There's nothing colored in their chart. And these are really beloved people because what they reflect is non-judgmental. They reflect people back to themselves.
They're like a mirror for all of us to see ourselves clearly.
So they become some of the wisest people on the planet because they just see everything according to everybody else's situation. And as I say, they're just reflecting the world back to itself. It's a life of great trust in a way.
So what's it sounds like each type has a pattern of how they're working with energy, life force energy in different ways. And so are there kind of optimal configurations of how you want to create a cluster of different types to launch a project or
that's a whole nother interesting subject because yes, and of course you can, get into the realm of relationships and relationship dynamics. What I can say is that once you really understand your own design and the people closest to you in your life, then if you work in a company or you have a company, like we have a small company with 7 people who work with us, we know every single person's design. We understand it really clearly. And they know a good amount about their design. So they're living more true to their innate gifts. And so our team, people don't leave. We've had team members here for 12 years, 14 years. I mean, we're a synergistic kind of unit in a way that we're all working to our highest strengths and abilities. And knowing that about each other, knowing what works for people, what doesn't. For instance, Chetan's the only projector. He's the kind of the guide for all of us, our, energy types. And we understand that we can't bog him down with too much things to do, too much detail, because he needs that space to be able to, just clear himself and be available to provide the guidance. So what could be maybe frustrating for some employees, the people who work with us come to understand that, appreciate that. So we think it helps our team work really better.
Yeah. It really takes you out of the one size fits all in terms of work patterns or habits. It's like you really want to kind of slot into your optimal energy lane, if you will.
Yes.
So I give you a very simple example here, Stephen. I'm a projector type. Carola is a generator type. Generators, once they get involved in something, they don't want to be interrupted. So in our early days together, we lived in this beautiful house with a lovely deck and a great view. And being me, I love having tea breaks. So I would invite Carola, come and have a tea break with me. Come on, let's sit out and enjoy the view, and we'll just chit chat and enjoy our time together. This is our honeymoon period, getting to know each other and working more and more with human design. And so, tea break, we have a great time, and all of a sudden tea break's over. And I go, time to go back to work. I go back to what I'm doing and, just got right back in. It's no problem at all for a projector to shift from one thing to another. But Carola, oh my goodness. She can't get started again.
Yeah. Because as a generator, what happens is that we build up energy throughout the day. So once our energy is engaged and it's moving, it's like, it's like this, like you described, this motor, this life force energy that's just moving us. To stop that mid-stride is really difficult. And then what's difficult too is finding where we were, picking it back up. And, so I just found that these long 20 to 30-minute tea breaks of Chetan's really don't want
Well, we could go into more of the dynamics. I know there's a lot more there, but let's Let's also take some time. I know you wanted to guide people in a little meditation to connect with these different 9 energy centers and start to get grounding in them for ourselves.
Right. Love to do that. So, as I said, we've evolved into a 9-centered being. So I'm just going to have a look through the chart here that we've got with these 9 centers laid out in a very particular pattern. And if we look at the one right at the top, the triangle center at the top, it's partly in the body, partly out of the body. And we might say this is our cosmic antenna. This connects us into everything going on in the universe. We might say it's the pineal gland. And it's our center of inspiration, how we are inspired in life. Now, I'm just going to say, no good charts, no bad charts. I'm just talking about the human design and charts generally at this moment in time. So it doesn't matter whether your center's colored in or not. Just bear with me while I go through these 9 centers. The center beneath it, the mind center, this is the tribal center pointing downwards, the ajna. This is where we get to think about things in life, where we get to work things out, where we weigh up what's going on in our environment. Beneath that, the square center, the throat center, our center of expression, speech, manifestation, very complex center. This is the thyroid and the parathyroid glands. Beneath that, what I call the self center, it's our center of identity. It has been called the G center. It's not actually the letter G, it's the shape of the letter G, which corresponds to the Fibonacci sequence. That spiral that connects us into everything in the universe through perfect geometry. And this relates to the liver, seat of the soul. Off to the right a little bit, that little tribal center, we call this the willpower center. What do we want out of life? We might say this is the heart center, where we give that willful energy to things. Over on the left side, there's a tribal center on its side, and this is the spleen center. Now, it doesn't matter necessarily where is the spleen in my body. This is a center that looks after our health and well-being. Allow your body to guide you to where health and well-being resides in your body. This is the center of intuition, instinct, taste, instant recognition of things. It's the oldest awareness system. To the center right at the bottom of the chart, which is the root center, we might say this relates to the adrenals, this instant impulse of energy to make us move really quickly from a standing start, the pressure to engage in life. On the right side, the triangle center on its side, the emotion center, the solar plexus center, all the ups and downs through feelings in our life. And then the center second up from the bottom, the sacral center, the sex center, the testes and the ovaries, the expression of life force in life. And we call it the generator center, the sacral center. So these are the 9 centers. These are just a very brief description of their function, what they do for us in our life. So I'm going to take us through a guided meditation through each one of these 9 centers, one by one, in a very particular order. So bear with me, this is not a thinking process. This is just about recognizing access into these centers. And what we're going to do is breathe into each center one by one. Breathe in light, love, celebration, delight, all the great possible expressions of life. And then breathe down to let go. And we're going to do 3 breaths into each center one by one. And as I said, it's not a thinking process. It's just to allow your body to guide you to each centers. The body has such an extraordinary wisdom.
And if you can, and it's second for you to do so, it might be helpful to close your eyes during this part of meditation.
So just very, very relaxed, let go. Nothing needs to be done here. We're just breathing. But I'm going to guide us into each of these centers one by one. So I'm going to start right up at the top of the chart with the crown center, the center of inspiration. And we're just going to draw 3 breaths into that center. And as I say, if you can be conscious of drawing in light, love, celebration, great experience of life, everything's good about life, draw that into that center. And then when I say let it go, let it go. Okay, ground sitting comfortably. So we focus on the crown center and we draw a breath in. And let go. And breathe in again. And let go. And breathe in. And let go. Into the mind center. Breathe in. And let go. And breathe it in. And let go. And breathe in. And let go. Into the throat center. Breathe in. And let go. Breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. And let go. Into the balance center. Breathe in. You let go. Breathe in. Let go. You breathe in. Let go. Into the willpower center. Breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. Let go. To the spleen center. Breathe in. And let go. So breathe in. And let go. Breathe in. And let go. The root center. Breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. Let go. Into the emotion center. So let's breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. Let go. And breathe in. Let go. Into the sacral center. Breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. Let go. Into the self center. Get breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. Let go. Breathe in. And let go.
So the purpose of that really is to give you an inner experience of your sentence. Of course, it's going to mean a lot more to you once you learn about each sentence and learn about each one and how each one works for you. But just to get a feel, a sense of the power of the light in the sentence.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Just a little taster of the connection points. And so do you then find you kind of map what you discover onto the map, so you're sort of seeing how the experiential matches what's in the chart?
Well, when people have a human design reading, for instance, or in taking our course, they're going to learn a lot about their design. They're going to learn all about the centers in their design, each of the centers, and how they work for each individual. They're going to learn about their type, which we went through that. They're going to learn about what I think is the most important key in human design, which is what we call authority, which I don't really like that term, but it came with human design, but I call it your truth, how to access your truth, how to make decisions in life that are always going to be the best decisions for you, no matter what it is throughout the rest of your life. I mean, this is huge because when I started out as a counselor, and what I experienced is that the most pain that people had in life is derived from having made bad decisions. They married the wrong person, and they chose the wrong career path, and they spent years and years and years and years of unhappiness and pain, and and all of that can be avoided when we simply are following our what we call authority, our inner truth, and we know how to access that truth. So in our course, we're going to be teaching that. How do you access your individual unique authority, and each person has their own different authority.
I like that. Well, I think now would be a great time to talk a little more explicitly about your upcoming course, since it's a very unique opportunity to study with two of the world's pioneers in this work and really get the deep download around how to work with this system in a way that does empower our inner authority and good decision making and self-understanding and team building. There's so many different potential applications. So let's talk a little bit about that. So again, the course is called Embodied Alignment with Human Design, Spiritual Technology to Ground Your Wisdom, Clear Karma, and Become the Person You Were Born to Be. You can find it at the URL embodiedhumandesigncourse.com, embodiedhumandesigncourse.com. It's a 7-week program. You don't have to have any background study in human design systems. So they're really going to take you step by step into the system and emerge with a great deal more self-understanding and understanding of how it works as well. So love for you to first of all share some of your intentions for what people will come away with, and then we can go through the modules and give a preview of what's coming in each.
Well,
Yeah. I call human design a unique self-remembering tool. You understand a few things about your human design, and you will find all of a sudden life becomes a great loader. In our first module, you'll be shown in both your conscious and unconscious attributes in the design chart. What we talked about earlier, the 2 calculations that we made. And this is the first step to self-empowerment, to living an inspired life. Also, understanding more about the unconscious side of our makeup, the ancestral past life information, we start clearing up unresolved ancestral imprints and clearing up our karmic files.
So module 1 is called Harness Human Design's Self-Empowerment Power to Transform Ancient Misunderstandings and Heal Personal Karma.
Right. So that's the beginning of it, where we give you the overview of human design. And you'll each of you in the course is going to have your human design chart with you. And we're going to guide you through in this module an understanding of what it is you're looking at and how to begin to relate to it. So as Chetan said, it's going to show you both your conscious nature and your, we call it unconscious, but it's really your inherited, or you could say your past life, your ancestral nature that has come through the ancestral line, that also comes with karma and karmic lessons that may be still remaining for you to complete in this lifetime. With human design, you have the opportunity to see what that is and begin to relate with what it is that you can complete in the karmic line, so that you can become more and more present in your life. And it's only to being present that we can be with our tribal development. So we start there with module 1, and then we do module 2, which is about the 9 centers in human design. And rather than having, just an experience of going through each of your centers, Chetan and I are going to walk you through each of the 9 centers, how they work, what difference it makes if your center is what we call defined or Pelican, or if it's open, and you'll emerge from that with an understanding of how each of your centers works for you, so that you can be empowered to live more from the centers where you've got what we call definition, and where you have the ability to really access and work with energy, and you understand how to work with those undefined centers, which are more reflecting and guiding centers for others.
So it's basically going through the 9 centers. We point out what it is in your design that's consistent for you, and what it is that basically is up to other people. It's other people's activities and input in your life. So really making clear distinction. This is the vehicle, and for myself in this lifetime, and how it works on my behalf for me in any situation.
Then in module 3, we're going to go through living in a way that's authentic to your human design type so that you create the life that you love. That's the title of that module. And in this module, we're going to walk you through one of the most important keys in human design, which is called type, which we talked about earlier with you, student. And understand that conditioning has made it that we're kind of forgotten who we are. We've forgotten our natural way of being. So what we learn in this module is how to understand our type, which is the first step to recovering our authenticity. But we also are going to learn about all the other types because there's going to be lots of people in your life and they're going to be one type or another. So we'll learn about all the types.
The beginning of, one size does not fit all.
And then in the fourth module, we look at authority. And this module is titled The 6 Types of Authority, to create a decision-making playbook for every choice you'll make throughout your life. And like I shared, I think this is, all the keys are important, but I think this is the most important one because without this knowledge, we unwittingly make decisions that are not true to our nature, and we lead to a lot of pain in life and a lot of wasted time. So learning about your authority in this module, it opens the doorway for each student to access and nurture the truth in your spirit in every decision you make throughout your life and the remainder of your life. So you learn about your authority and how that works. And you'll also learn about the authority, of course, of other people.
It's really a magical thing when people get that. Because the training we've been given in life is so intense. Think your way through, add up the pros and cons.
Yeah.
And once you understand your authority, everything changes.
Right. And we're taught to make decisions with our mind, which is like a biocomputer. And the mind has intelligence, but it doesn't contain wisdom. So wisdom comes from the soul. So really what human design does and what we'll be teaching in these modules is how to reconnect with that place within you where your decisions are coming directly from your soul and how to access them. 7, and you go on to...
Module 5 is discovering your human design profile. And so it helps us have a lot more compassion for yourself and others, creating deeper connections, ease, and flow in your life. So it comes about in human design, there are 12 of these different profiles. And I think all of us have had the experience. You walk in on a party or a meeting, and you find some people, it's an instant connection. They're so easy to relate to. And other people, it's like, I really have to work a little bit harder here. And so understanding first our own profile and its significance in how we naturally interact with other people. And then we learn about the other 11 profiles, because we each have one for our lifetime. And we immediately comprehend what makes it easier flow in all of our interactions like that.
And we kind of bring it all together in module 6, where we're integrating the essence of the human design. It's about learning how all these different parts that we're talking about, your type, your authority, profile, your centers, the channels, etc., how they all come together. And essentially, you come to realize that your human design is perfect. It's not, you didn't accidentally get this design. It was intentional. Your soul intended it.
I always tease people, the moment the sperm hits the egg, that's when you sign on the dotted line. This is what I'm doing this lifetime. This is the vehicle that's going to carry me through this lifetime.
Yeah. So essentially, it guides us to living an awakened life. And in this module, we begin to put all those pieces together. So you learn how to relax into the person that you were born to be, the essence of who you are as a unique individual, and how to use this playbook to allow your soul to be the guiding factor in everything that you're doing now.
It's really a reconnection with soul. Mm-hmm. And it's a map, and it's a perfect map for you in this lifetime.
But it's about living your soul in this life. It's not just about meditating, being your soul. It's about actually bring your soul to life, to the everyday living, to your relationships, to your work, to everything that you do, and engaging in life from that place of awakened.
And finally, Module 7, apply human design principles to your relationships for greater clarity, respect, and awareness, which is really a great module to conclude with because a lot of people are very interested in how human design really impacts how they engage and collaborate with others. Well, that's why I guess we lead off with the term embodied, because it's all about bringing your soul down into its actual right expression, the authentic expression, and to align with the currents of energy and natural predispositions that we have. So beautiful design to this program, which is natural since it is human design. And yeah, I think it's going to be an incredible introduction to this work and really be able to apply it in a way that that makes deep sense. So I'll share a few other things about the course. So it's again at embodiedhumandesigncourse.com. We just heard about the 7 90-minute live sessions with Carola and Chetan, and that's going to include time to ask some questions live, which is super helpful to refine your understandings and get things addressed that you couldn't do in a recorded version. That said, you do get the recordings as well, which so you can go back, watch the video and audio again. You can also get word for word transcripts, which are helpful to work with and study, as well as weekly exercises and practices for home. There's a community to support you and deepen your experience, as well as small group time to connect with other participants. And they've also been very generous with bonuses. There's a whole video series. It's actually a $297 value by itself with 13 workbooks. It's called Living by Design, Unlock the Life You Were Meant to Live. I want to share a little bit about that special bonus that folks get.
Well, human design covers a lot of ground.
Yeah.
And what we've done in these videos, they're 20, 25 minutes a piece, and the workbook goes along with it. So you can follow along what we're describing in the video, in the workbook. So you get a really clear understanding what we're talking about.
It's essentially, it's for people who aren't going to formally study human design. Like, you're not going to studying it, like, take a long course to learn human design, but you want to know a bit more about how to unpack your own design, how to live it. And so each of the modules takes you through not so much of it. It's not like a learning course. What we're going to do that with Chip Network, but this is a bonus that we give for people who just want to learn more about how to step into their design, how to live it. And so each of the modules takes you through an element of human design and how to bring it alive in your life. And it's an informal kind of training, just to, how to break down the kind of thing.
And keep it simple.
Yeah.
Super helpful. That's a great bonus. I also want to draw attention to another bonus. It's a special bonus that you get when you sign up by midnight tonight Pacific time. This is a full comprehensive human design report called Discover Your Success Codes. This is a downloadable PDF. You want to share about that special bonus they get when they act today?
Yeah, it's about 20, 25 pages, all about you. It takes you through all of the main elements of your unique human design. So it's not about human design, about the system of study, but it's about your design. It's a literal description taking you through each of the main points of your human design. This is a really, really popular program that sells on our website, and we're offering them as a bonus to those of you who are inspired and want to sign up today.
Great stuff. Well, that's a great extra reason to sign up right away. So it's clearly going to be an amazing program. We're very excited about it. Again, all the details are at embodiedhumandesigncourse.com. We've kept the investment very accessible. It's just 3 payments of $128. So you can save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $349. The course is going to begin September 11th and run Thursdays at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community as well. There's some beautiful testimonials really championing both of their work. Amazing gift, great gift, a master of the human design system, one-of-a-kind wisdom. So many great testimonials about Chetan and Carola and how masterfully they teach this work. So you're in really good hands, and you get to harvest decades of experience and apply it in your own life, and it brings more self-understanding, connects you to your soul expression and living an awakened life in a really clear and decisive way. So you are, I think, going to be blessed. So again, it's all at embodiedhumandesigncourse.com, embodiedhumandesigncourse.com. Well, you two, really fascinating hour, and I'm particularly grateful for the deep insights into me that you provided. And I know that can apply to just about anybody who's going to bring their data forward you can do the same thing. So anything that's still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering joining your course?
Well, I share about being graced with this experience of spirit and feeling the profound love that we're each made of. I think I want to just say that it's really our heartfelt wish to open a pathway for you to take this course with us, to bring your greatest gifts to the known. That's what we love to do.
And I want to just express my gratefulness to you, Stephen, and your team, and just say we can't wait to share this experience with everybody.
Beautiful. Well, it's your excitement and dedication to this work is very palpable. So we're all blessed to receive your wisdom and really the power of this system. So thank you so much. And for all those who are here, again, embodiedhumandesigncourse.com is where you can get all the details and get signed up. And if you do right away, you're going to get that full PDF report as an extra bonus. That's the Comprehensive Human Design Report. Discover your success codes. So thank you both, and thank you all for joining.
Thank you. It was lovely.